Wonderful. And since we're a small group, if you're able to introduce yourself today, let's go ahead and do that. Make it a little friendly here. So I'm Becca Knutson. I'm the chair of the Tarrant County Food Policy Council. For my day job, I am the market manager at Cowtown Farmers Market, and I am also learning how to be a farmer. And then I'll just call on folks as they're on my list here. Alexandra, would you go next?
I sure can. My name is Alexandra Thurston. I am a member of the board as well as the co-chair of the Children's Health Working Group. I work for the City of Fort Worth Neighborhood Services Department in our Community Action Partners, which is our internal social service agency.
Wonderful. Bree, you are next on my list. All right, Bree, we'll come back to you. Dave, you're next.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dave Aftandillian. I teach anthropology and human-animal relationships at TCU, and I co-chair our working group on community gardens and urban agriculture.
Awesome. Destiny, if you're able to jump in, you're next on my list. All righty, Gina, if you can jump in.
Hi, this is Gina Hill, and I teach in the Department of Nutritional Sciences at TCU, and I'm a board member for the Tarrant County Food Policy Council and the co-chair of the Food Recovery Working Group. Good to see you guys.
Thank you, Gina. Catherine?
I'm Catherine Nicholson. I serve as vice chair for the Tarrant County Food Policy Council, and I'm now the food security resilience specialist with the American Red Cross. So job switch title from our last meeting.
Awesome. And then William, if you are able to introduce yourself, we'd love to hear from you.
I think you can hear me. I'm being very Zoom challenged today. I'm William Farrago, Director of West Aid and Food Pantry in West Fort Worth. And I show up when my Zoom works and when I remember. So I do keep in touch though, otherwise.
Yes, always good to see you. Thank you for being here. All right, so we've got a small group today, so hopefully lots of time to share with each other and chat and maybe find some new ways we can collaborate. And I intentionally skipped over Tamika and Carolyn because they will be introduced here in just a moment. We can see if we have any reports. We don't have most of our officers here today. Let me see here. I do have a report from Harrison as our secretary, but Catherine, do you have anything you would like to share as a report while I'm trying to pull that up?
Nothing to share at this time.
Okay. Let me see if I can grab Harrison's report. Okay, so Harrison, let's see here. He would just like to remind everyone to follow us on social media if you're on Facebook and Instagram. If you're not currently on our mailing list, go ahead and get on that as well, and I will find out where that link is on our website and put that in the chat. And then we do have our next general meeting, which will be in August on the first Thursday, which happens to be the 4th. So you can put that on your calendar. It is also on our website, on our website event calendar. And then for my report as chair, I would just like to put an idea out there if we have time to discuss it today. I would be interested to know how folks who participate in these meetings or have been involved with the Food Policy Council in some capacity, in what ways are y'all looking to participate with our group? Kind of as we maybe move out of a digital meeting setting, or maybe that's the preferred way. I'm just interested, what are y'all wanting to get out of this group, and what participation is of value to our members and our board members? So We can chat about that later. I've got a document I'll pull up to write down some ideas that we get from the group today. But just that I put that out there to think about while we listen to our presentation today. And with that, I'll turn it over to Alexandra to introduce our guest presenters.
Yes, yes, yes. So as Becca mentioned, we do have some guests today, and I've had the pleasure of working with their organization before, once upon a lifetime ago, when I was in child nutrition programs. This particular organization, ESC Region 11, helps with technical support when it comes to those child nutrition programs, whether they're administered through the school district or through other organizations. So without further ado, you can tell I'm excited. Please welcome to the virtual stage, Tamika and Carolyn of ESC Region 11.
Hello, thank you. Thanks, Alexandra. It's great to see you again and to be able to be present today. Yes. And like she said, we represent ESC 11 or Region 11. I'm Tamika Figs. Again, this is Carolyn. We've been working together for almost 3 years now. Share screen. And so we do have a presentation on summer feeding post-pandemic. And so we're going to start that soon. Yeah, that one's screen. But we got her on that. Okay. And so we're just going to get started. And if you have any questions, just let us know in the chat or let us know by unmuting yourself, and then we can answer those questions. We can also provide you with our contact information after our presentation as well. So according to squaremeals.org, in the state of Texas, more than 1 in 5 children struggle with hunger. When the school year ends, children often lose access to consistent, nutritious school meals, and therefore they would need something in the summer. The Summer Meals Program ensures that more Texas children have enough food for an active, healthy lifestyle. The Summer Meals Program provides meals at no cost to children and teens 18 years of age or younger in low-income areas. Participating families do not have to apply or register for this or provide identification to participate. And so here we have some statistics from 2020 and 2021. Just guessing by the number of applications we see, we guess that the number of contracting entities and sites will decrease for this summer. And this is due to the returning back to normal operations that has been mandated by USDA and TDA. This year, sites must be area eligible, and then they must feed in a congregate setting. And so here, I'm sure you guys have seen this site, seen this on our site before. You can go to squaremeals.org and click on the Summer Meals Program tab to find more information about summer meals. You will also see these icons that's on your screen. This will allow you to search for sites, and Carolyn will talk about that briefly later on in this presentation. Also, families can text food to 304-304 to find meal sites. 304-304 has replaced 211. And so we just want to make sure that everyone knows about that new number instead of the 211 number.
Right, so 211 is still out there. It's just that finding a site is not part of 211. It is now the 304-304. The first button that we're going to talk about is check back daily. Check here for a meal near you. So this is the one that is the 304-304, or you can check in and it'll pop up a day by day what site is open and where, and you can search by zip code or sometimes by address. And if one site may be open one day, it may not be open the next day. So you always want to check each day. So you want to go to this site and definitely click there to check. The next button we're going to talk about is TDA's open portal. This is really all the information that Texas Department of Agriculture has for open records. So it's vast and really kind of hard to navigate. It's not my preferred way of looking for information, but you can find anything you want to find about sites, feeding times, feeding locations, who's sponsoring the site. Is it a school site with Seamless Summer, or is it a summer feeding site, which is a nonprofit site? And then the last one is basically just click on a map. So anywhere, actually you can go anywhere in the United States and have a meal. It doesn't matter if you live in that area or not, it's open to any child, like Tamika said earlier, 18 and younger. So if your family was on family vacations or you were going somewhere to a relative's house, you can stop and see what site might be open for your kiddos and you can go and eat. This is a great site for that. Also on this same page, when you click on this icon, you're going to come up with a list of all summer site programs sponsor list. So this is everyone that's approved as of today on school year 2022 for sponsors. So if you want to find a sponsor and you know somebody that has a site that needs to be fed, this is a great place to go and find a sponsor that can maybe provide a meal for your site. And then basically, here's the difference. So during the pandemic, you know, we were feeding everybody, nobody could go anywhere. We had grab and go. We had every which way you could think of to feed your kids and any child out there. So we had the grab and go, the virtual enrichment, week of a meals at a time. You could pick up both meals at one time. It was just a crazy, crazy time in our world. So now we are post, I should say, pandemic. We're going back to as normal as possible from USDA. So now we have to follow all the rules and regs that we had prior to the COVID pandemic. So we must have area eligibility. So you have to be in an area that is 50% free or reduced for these kiddos. Has to be an open site, so it has to be open to everybody in the neighborhood. And you offer one meal at a time, and it must be congregate, which means they have to stay there and consume the meal. We're going to probably see a lot less sites this year as it changes and transitions. So if you know anybody who's looking for a site, go to that last button and find a sponsor and get some out there, because we're probably pretty slim. But the next slide we're going to talk about if you have any questions or how you can help. So basically, the best way you can do it to help is be a volunteer, because they don't have the money to pay anybody to help feed them. So if you know a church group or any other organization that would like to volunteer to feed the kiddos for the summer, reach out to some of these sponsors and see if they can work at a site. And also be a site. So if you know a church or you're in an area that really needs some kids fed, volunteer to be the site. And that's all we have. So thank you so much for listening with us today. And I hope you learned a little bit about summer feeding.
Carolyn and Tamika, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Awesome. So you listed under kind of the requirements for the summer feeding program that there has to be some sort of enrichment. Can you talk a little bit about what that involves and what qualifies as enrichment?
Well, that was passed. So this year you don't have to have the enrichment. What they want and what they request or would like to see you do is give them something for the kids to do. Like, is there some books to read? Is there some jump ropes? Is there games to play? But it is not required. It is not a requirement. But it was a requirement for them to have something to do when they were home during COVID. But this year, no.
Gotcha. And then is there anything that you would suggest for the Food Policy Council to do to help with this program at all, or anything else that y'all are doing? Is there any way that we can support you better?
Well, I'll probably just put it out there that summer feeding is going on and to have them look for sites. So, you know, a lot of sites, even though they're out there and they're providing food, they're not getting the kiddos that they would think that they would get.
Mhm.
So I think it needs to go back to marketing.
And if there's someone that's thinking about getting on the program as a sponsor or as a site, they need to start doing the work now as far as what's required by TDA. And so what I'm talking about is the viability part, the financial viability part. That's the longest section that we've seen where potential sponsors and sites are missing the mark only because they missed the deadlines. And so the requirements and what TDA is requiring is a little bit more in the beginning and not just filling out the application.
Yeah, and the deadline is important. So it starts in January and has to be turned in by April 15th. So maybe next year we could be on a little earlier. But thank you.
I have a very basic question for those who are watching now or later. We've been throwing around some abbreviations and acronyms that folks may not be familiar with. So could you please explain what ESC, TDA, and any other letters that you've thrown out there may mean?
Yes, so TDA is Texas Department of Agriculture. CE is contracting entity. So that's the person that has the contract or the organization that has the contract with TDA to operate the programs. SFSP is the summer feeding program. Programmers. Also, what else did we? Oh, ESC is Educational Service Center. So that's what we are.
And then USDA is United States Department of Agriculture. They control the whole grant. So that's why it's available throughout the whole United States. This is not just a Texas program. Any other acronyms we missed? We can talk paragraphs and acronyms.
There's many.
Carolyn and Tamika, I have a question. The data you showed, was that the statewide sponsors, the 217? That data screen you showed?
That was for Texas.
That was for Texas. Okay. And so I'm going to throw this out here for everyone too. In North Texas, we actually have a third of the sponsors in the state up here. So across the whole state of Texas, a third of the providers of this program are here in Dallas-Fort Worth. And just a bit too, if you are looking to become a site, I'm just going to throw some stuff out there. You guys, Carolyn and Tamika, correct me if I'm wrong. If you're the best way to get involved in the program this year would not to be a sponsor because you missed the deadline, but to become a site, which is also the new requirement, correct? For Texas Department of Agriculture, you have to be a site 1 year under a sponsor before you can become a sponsor. Or is that their best practice?
Recommended. It's recommended. Okay. It's not a requirement.
Okay. And so if you were to become a site, the program is running now through the start of the school year, which is like August 12th, something like that, roughly. How long, typically they've always told sites it will take 15 days from the sponsor submitting the request to open the site for TDA to get it approved. Is that still roughly the same time frame? Or if somebody was interested on this call to be a site, what kind of timeline could we tell them to look at?
Yeah, it's 15 days. TDA or Texas Department of Agriculture has 15 days to turn that around.
Okay.
But usually it's a lot faster for a site. So it's the sponsorship that takes much longer. A site, pretty fast.
And then who, if they were going besides TDA data portal, could a site potentially contact you guys, or could you just list off a couple of site sponsors in the area? I know we don't have as many in Tarrant County anymore as we used to. I know it's mostly our school districts and we have a few community sponsors.
Yeah, off the top of my head, No, but you know where you could go, there's another website you could go to as well, and it's the CACFP.org. So it's Child and Adult Food Care Program.org, and they will list sponsors as well.
And so with them, this organization, the DART or the association, some of the sponsors, if they are not members, they may not be listed. So that's why we kind of tell them to check both places, both the portal and this association. Also, we inform everyone, especially when they're using the portal, that some of the sponsors listed on the portal may be out of state, but they have, they're able to operate here in the state of Texas. Like we have some from the state of Oklahoma, for example, where they're kind of bordering our area. And so you just have to see what works for you as a site. Some people want a really big sponsoring organization, where others may want someone very small, very local, very hands-on. So it would just kind of depend on what you're looking for. So the portal would probably be the biggest database you have. Like Carolyn said, it is a little daunting. And so if you do need help walking through the portal, we're available. And I'll go ahead and put our contact information in the chat as well.
And also another one, Catherine, that requirement of being a sponsor is they have to be a nonprofit for summer feeding.
So I think Tamika and Carolyn, why we really wanted to bring you on this time is kind of emphasizing that change in the program that has occurred for the last 2 years. Families got introduced, and we did see that significant spike in participation that's created kind of an anomaly in the data. And now we'll have families, fair enough, our school districts are just not going to be serving as long because they've been serving nonstop since the pandemic hit, and their staff need breaks. And we just know this program is so sensitive to families if they have one negative experience not returning. And
Right.
So I think that's why we wanted to bring you guys on today to really emphasize one about that change in the program, that it's returning to, as I call it, regular scheduled programming. It's no longer as convenient as it once was.
Right.
And perhaps where I view the council really being a huge help is being that advocate, because so many families, I've done summer meals for 5 summers, and my first summer not doing it, and it's feeling a little weird, guys. I don't know what to do with myself. So I'm like, I usually am posting on Facebook myself personally a lot right now. But one thing is, if you have children, I would encourage you to go participate in the site one day, because this program is open to all. It is not only those who are facing poverty, it is for everyone. And you going and participating and bringing awareness to it and seeing how the site works is a huge help to those sponsors. And it also helps erase the stigma and help raise, and you can make a play date out of it. My kids and I will be participating in a site at some point in the next couple of weeks. Also, if you can, just spread the word. It is very vital. And that texting line is your best resource. The map is fine as a tool. I will admit it's always a little behind, and that's okay. Because as like new sites come on, that data gets delayed and it just gets to be a bottleneck. So the texting line is probably going to be your best resource on finding a site nearest you. And you could put in the zip code. Let's say you're at the zoo, you could put in a zip code and you're probably going to find a site close by. And so those are some things I wanted to build on that Tamika and Carolyn already highlighted, but I wanted to reemphasize. It's just someone who loves this program. It is such an important program. It does so much for families and communities. It really helps children prevent the summer slide. It does so much to get communities engaged and involved. And so as somebody who's personally passionate about it, wanted to also add my 2 cents in.
Thank you. Any other questions?
No. Well, I think we'll turn it back over to Ms. Becca.
All right, thank you all so much for presenting. It's great to hear those updates, and exciting that things are kind of returning to normal programming. All right, next we have our working group reports. And first on the list is our Community Garden and Urban Agriculture Working Group. Dave, let me see if I can make you able to present here real quick. And if you would like to share your slide, go for it.
Okay. There's my slide. Okay. Because I often forget by the end of this update, our next meeting is going to be Thursday, July 21st at 3 o'clock via Zoom. And after I'm done presenting, I'll put my email and that info in the chat, and I can send you the Zoom info if you're interested. But our last meeting was May 19th, and our guest speaker was John Wood and Katie Rudd, who founded the community garden program at the food bank, put him in touch with us. He's a TCU alum and environmental lawyer, and worked for NRDC for a while. But he really is passionate about food access. And so in 2012, he formed this nonprofit called Econautics, and they are trying to get urban vertical farms into communities that don't have access to healthy, nutritious food, with the goal of both providing food in those communities and providing employment in those communities and economic development. So they're working on a pilot project in Beaumont, Texas, and basically the entire school district would qualify for free and reduced lunch, 17,000 some kids. The oil and gas money that is extracted from that community, it doesn't trickle down and give them much of anything in return. So that's part of why they want to start there. And in addition to the farm, which would raise food for the ISD, not probably provide all the food, but supplement, right, with produce, because they're going to do hydroponics and aquaponics. And so hydroponics is basically growing vegetables in water, and then aquaponics is actually growing fish as well. And so then using the fish poop as fertilizer to make a kind of a nice closed loop. And they also want to be an incubator site for food trucks. So they're going to have a commercial kitchen where people can test out their recipes and cook stuff that they can then take out in their trucks and sell. So they've had a lot of conversations with the city of Beaumont, but it's not 100% done deal yet. The city has land. It's an old Sears Roebuck warehouse where this would be built. But there's some money that needs to be raised to make this happen. And anyway, all this is to say that if it works well in Beaumont, they want to bring it to Fort Worth because John's from here, and he really is passionate about bringing the project here. So stay tuned on that. Hopefully we'll hear more later. Grow Southeast, for those who don't know, it's an umbrella organization for several urban agriculture projects on the southeast side of Fort Worth, supported through Commissioner Brooks's office and through, Healthy Tarrant County Collaboration. There we go. And then through Jesse Herrera's nonprofit also. So anyway, we had an update on their farms. Opal's farm is a really neat project, and Ms. Opal Lee founded it. They have a training program right now to have more farmers from the community. There are 2 people participating in that program now. Charlie Blaylock is training them, and so that program's in progress. They would like to find money to pay the apprentices. It would make it a lot easier for them to participate. So that's a future activity. Opal's farm just got a major grant from the Rainwater Foundation. So part of that's going to be to purchase equipment, but part of it's also going to be to expand onto another acre. So they're doing well. Tabor Farms has had good harvests of mustard and collard greens. And I actually volunteered there a couple Saturdays ago, and I can tell you their onions are also excellent. I got to take some of those home. They're having challenges with volunteers, a steady supply of volunteer labor, and with vandalism and crime. A lot of the Grow Southeast sites, crime is on the rise around Fort Worth. I don't know nationally, but Opal's lost a generator. Well, they didn't lose it. Somebody stole Opal's generator. And they've had hoses stolen from various sites, drip irrigation hoses. So that's an ongoing problem for a lot of the sites. Mind Your Garden Urban Farm, they want to do a healthy hour, right? So instead of people drinking unhealthy beverages at a bar, come out to the farm, drink vegetable juice cocktails and so on, and fruit juice cocktails that are non-alcoholic. They still need to get some toilets on site to make that happen, but they can travel. So if we as a Food Policy Council wanted to sponsor something with them, I think they'd be open to it. At least Jesse thinks they'd be open to it. So we can think about that. Black Wall Street Farm, I also got the chance to visit. They're at Aletheia Temple Church, very close to where Tabor Farms is. They've had good success with tomatoes and collard greens. They've had unfortunate problems with harlequin bugs. They're these little sort of orange and black bugs, and they look cute, but they destroyed a lot of the collard greens. So that was not happy. Their vandalism problems have to do with holes in the fence around the site. So they're working on that. Update from Community Garden Program, since Lauren's not here, I will, once I get back to able to easily post in the chat, I will post a link. The biggest thing they're working on, and the reason Lauren's not able to join us today, is the Growing Healthy Communities Conference. That's going to be Saturday, July 16th. So coming up, it's free registration, thanks to one of the sponsors. And I will put what I have for the URL, although I haven't been able to get the page to load for the last couple days. So I may have the wrong one, but I'll put what I have. But it's cool because there's a half day of children's activities. So kids are welcome for that. I think that's the morning part. And then there's stuff for everybody else all day. And for those who haven't been, there's various tracks. So if you're a home gardener, there's stuff of interest for you. If you are a community gardener, there's a track for that. And if you're a market gardener who's looking to sell some of the produce that you grow, there's a track for that. And I also know there's going to be a lot of stuff on school gardens because of the kid focus. So really, anybody who's interested in growing healthy food should enjoy that conference. And we encourage everybody to attend. Let me see here. Lauren also reported that there are several partner agencies from Tarrant Area Food Bank that want to start new gardens. And so she'll be helping, her team will be helping with that. And they also want to help existing gardens, particularly smaller ones, with getting volunteers and with publicizing their projects. So that's kind of an ongoing thing. We have been talking for a while in the Food Policy Council about hosting a small grant program for community gardens and urban agriculture projects serving low-income communities, low food access communities. And we're getting closer on that. The basic idea is that the upper limit would be $500, and you would apply, and you would say what you need and why it's going to help you serve a community that needs serving. So Mary Jo Green, who's one of our school garden experts in the area, she was approached by a potential corporate donor. And so she came back to us, and we had a subcommittee meet, including Brittany Rosenberg from the fundraising committee, to talk about what this might look like. So then Mary Jo's going to go back to the potential donor and talk with them about that and see where their interests lie. But one of the things that Brittany stressed was we really need to be sure that we assess what happens after we give the money. And so it's going to be requirements about taking photos and giving us reports and possibly site visits, so that we just make sure that the money is used well, because then we can go back and report to our donors and say, hey, you gave us this money, we gave it to these gardens, look what they did with it. Look at all these happy faces eating great produce, right? So that's in progress. We're getting moving there. Becca has, so one need that's been expressed to us by several community gardens in the area is that they need volunteers. I just mentioned that as an issue with Grow Southeast, and that's a pretty well-run project with somebody who's actually in charge of promoting it, who is Jesse. You know, picture a small community garden that doesn't have dedicated staff to do any of that. They have to find volunteers and keep them, and that's very difficult. So we talked about the Food Policy Council having a page on our website to post those opportunities, both what the garden is and also where it is. So if you live in a particular zip code and you're looking for something maybe to do with your kids on a Saturday morning, you can see what's in your area. So Becca has a draft of a page created. I'm sure she's made progress since she showed it to us. So that's coming, and that'll be on our website. And finally, the last project we're working on, we have an urban agriculture ordinance in Fort Worth, and the idea was to actually facilitate more farms, because we'd like more food supply in the city, particularly in areas that don't have easy access to fresh produce. And we helped draft this ordinance. We looked at other ordinances around the United States. We had a great advocate in the policy planning department who has since gone on to another job. And there have been problems with this ordinance. And I'm not directly involved in this, but Grow Southeast is. And so our idea is we want to have a subcommittee that's going to involve Grow Southeast. Brenda Patton, I think I saw Brenda join the call from Blue Zones. She has great contacts with the city. So our idea is to look at, where are the sticking points? What are the problems? And I'll just give one, because I know I've already talked probably too long. But one issue is there's a canopy, a tree canopy that you have to meet when you're developing a site in Fort Worth. And the idea of this is so that developers can't just go down and cut down a forested site and leave no trees and put up whatever buildings they're going to put up. That part makes sense. Doesn't make as much sense if you're, say, trying to do a 1/4 acre farm in your backyard and you're trying to grow produce, because produce doesn't like a lot of shade. So if you're forced to put trees on that land, you're then not as able to use it for agriculture. So there's just some things like that that don't make sense. And we think it's just that forestry didn't really know about this ordinance. So there's some conversations that probably need to happen just so this runs more smoothly for the next set of farms that are trying to work on it. So we will be meeting about that and trying to get that going. So I'm going to stop sharing. And great, somebody posted a Grow Southeast volunteer opportunity. All right. So thanks, everybody. I will put some info in the chat here.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Dave. Alexandra, do you have an update on children's health for us?
I do. I will be sharing my screen as well. All right. So for those of you who are new, what the Children's Health Working Group has been working on is implementing policy that would support the goal to change default beverages on children's menus at restaurants. And that is to say, where we so often see children's meals paired with soda, this would change them to either not have a beverage that comes with it, or if there is a beverage that comes with it, that it would be juice or milk or water, falling in line with what the guidelines are for school meals. Starting with the city of Fort Worth with the goal of expanding to other cities and eventually the county. So we last met on April 20th. And at that meeting, we brainstormed logos and webpage design ideas for this campaign. We also discussed our next steps. I won't give, all the juice, because that's why you need to come to the meetings. We meet on the third Wednesdays of even months, which means that our next meeting will be this month, June 15th at 10:30 a.m. We meet via Google Hangouts. If you want more information about that or any of our other meetings or just the working group in general, you can email Children's Health at tarrantcountyfoodpolicycouncil.org. I will also be placing that in the chat. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you so much. And Gina, do you have an update for us?
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Can you hear
ma'am.
me? All right. Sorry, I do not have a slide because I'm actually on my phone, and pardon my no picture. So the Food Recovery Working Group will meet this coming Monday from 12 to 1 o'clock, and we are having our first back in-person meeting since COVID started, and so we're excited to see those people who can join us in person. We're meeting at TCU in the Bass Building, room 1203, and we look forward to anyone who can come. We have been in conversations with the TCU Combined BSMS and Dietetics Program Director, Kelly Fisher. I don't remember if you remember her coming to the board meeting quite some time back and just asking, kind of putting a pitch out there for the Food Policy Council to help with meeting some of the accreditation standards, but also teaming up with that group of students to help meet a real need that our organization has. And so we have begun conversations on joining together to help achieve that. And so I think those conversations will continue on, and hopefully we'll get something in their curriculum for the fall or the spring semester of 22-23. And otherwise, no other updates right now.
Fabulous. So if y'all are not part of a working group already and one of those groups sounds awesome to join, the meeting information has been shared and it should be on our website on the calendars as well. I'll double check those links and dates with the information given in today's meeting as well. So for the rest of our time here, we've got about 13 minutes left. I've been making a document here of any announcements and events, volunteer opportunities that have been mentioned so far. Let me share my screen real quick. And if anyone has some thoughts about the question I proposed earlier, I'm sorry, lots of screens open at the moment. If anyone has any thoughts on what I proposed earlier, in what ways would you like to participate with this council? And very interested to know what the best way to participate is for y'all, what you want to get out of this group. You know, why are you here today? What do you usually hope to learn or receive? And then if there's any other announcements about events or volunteer opportunities, I would be happy to put those in this document here. I'm going to share it with Harrison since he's not here today, and also just have kind of a list we can send out to everyone afterwards in case you missed it in the chat. So I'll just kind of open the floor and anyone's welcome to share.
Could you, for folks who may be new, could you give a quick summary of the existing ways that people can participate?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Tarrant County Food Policy Council has been around for some time now. I feel like we're almost approaching 10 years, and Dave can correct me on that if I'm wrong. But you know, it's meant to be a coalition of organizations that work in the food access, healthy food space in our county. You know, we want to do as much collaboration as possible, and that can be as simple as sharing opportunities with each other or working on projects together. It's a great place to network and to meet people who are like-minded and want to work on similar projects. I know a lot of people have met in this group. I think the Blue Zones Cowtown Farmers Market connection was made here or closely related to here. And you know that we don't have a lot of money, we don't have any paid staff really, so we're all volunteers. So we have limits on what we actually can do as far as programming. We try to provide resources or information about resources. The ways people can participate in this group, attending council meetings like this to just share and learn from each other, or participate in our working groups where a little bit more work gets done as far as creating resources, helping to influence policy, or, you know, if we have the capacity to take on a program like a grants program for the garden group. Those are opportunities. There's sometimes, you know, a little bit of extra work for those working groups if you're working on a big project like building out our local food map. But really, you know, it's meant to benefit the members of this organization and help reach our goal of improving healthy food access in our county. So, you know, we want to make this group what the members want out of it. So I guess that's my question. If we don't have any answers today, that's okay. I think we're going to make a survey to follow up with everybody. So if you need some time to think about it, but would love to hear anyone's thoughts from that.
Hi, Becca, this is Bree. In lieu of our conversation about summer feeding, American Heart Association will be actually sponsoring some activity boxes. So we will actually have a list of sites that I can share with you that you can share with everyone on this call, just to come out, volunteer, and again, as Catherine mentioned, just get that experience to see how everything works at a summer feeding site. For the activity boxes, we're really providing like a bunch of activities that can be water activities, basketball, soccer balls, anything that you can think of that kids love will be included into this activity box. So just come, have fun, pull something out the activity box and engage. Would be super cool for everyone to just know about. So I can share that list with you. I know there is one tomorrow that I'm actually going to attend. It's kind of further out. It's at Rancho Brazo. I have the address I can share with you for you to share, and then I can share the other list of sites as well.
Wonderful, that would be great. Will, if I might call you out for a minute, William, sorry. You've attended this group for quite some time, and I'm wondering what has you coming back? What benefits do you see in participating in this group?
Well, I'm sometimes not as engaged as I should be, but you know, there's the interesting thing. We participate in the garden situation some because we receive food from the food bank learning garden, and it's housed in one of our supporting churches and nearby. You know, the food reclamation issues is we try to distribute out everything we get, but we still do have a little bit of waste. But we're not in a situation where we can easily do anything with that. And someday, if we ever get to relocate to another building, we would like to incorporate that in with our situation where we can do something with that. But at some point, it seemed like there was a lot of kind of, to me, boring stuff. Lately, I think there has been very good, helpful information, just like today. And the information today is something that I can make sure that our people that come are aware of. So I think the relevance, and I realize that every time we meet that maybe a speaker doesn't hit everybody, but typically there's, even if it doesn't, it's something we can share with somebody else. I do miss being in person, but you know, it's probably easier for me to participate this way than when we met together. Um, but it's just helpful for me too to know what other people are and what they do and that sort of thing. I don't know if that's helpful, but
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there has been some boring information lately. You're right on with that. Like sometimes I think we can get caught up in, you know, what we're supposed to be doing in a meeting, and we kind of reevaluated that in our board meeting last month. Just, you know, there's a lot of reporting and it's a lot of the same information. So is that the best use of our time, even though it may feel necessary or, you know, be part of our traditional meeting structure? Or is there something else we could be doing that's more beneficial? So good to know if it feels boring. We don't want it to be boring.
I think some of that was maybe even earlier on in the middle. There had to be, I think, a lot of policies written because that's again what this does. But I think as long as the bulk of the information is something that people can take away and feel like they benefit themselves and can benefit somebody else from this time together.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. I know I put you on the spot there.
No, it's okay. I was listening, but and made sure I had to punch all the right buttons. So.
Awesome. Anyone else have any thoughts on kind of meeting structure, you know, what we should be talking about, what we should be doing as a group?
Alexandra here. I think that something that could be helpful would be to make more use of the mailing list, perhaps I don't want to say formal newsletter, but it could include a lot of the things that are currently being reported in this meeting, or even some of the things that tend to come up in the in-between time, like those volunteer opportunities. Kind of acknowledging the fact that people have different schedules and different interest levels and may not be available right now, but you know, if we're in their inbox and then they can follow up with us in ways that work for them, that could be helpful.
Yeah, I like that a lot. So for the Community Gardens and Urban Agriculture Working Group, we do have a newsletter, and Harrison and I were chatting one time about, you know, could it be a council-wide newsletter and get input from the other groups? You know, it might be hard to do two. It might be hard to do a garden one and everything else, but some months we struggle for content. And, you know, if we had all the working groups contributing, maybe we could spread that work out amongst more people and provide that information to more people. So that's certainly something we need to chat about with our CGUA group and see if we want to change that up at all. But that's a great idea to have something people can passively participate with on their own time. I like that.
Perhaps too, in that newsletter, it fills that void in between meetings, but then also we could do member spotlights just to highlight who are members of the Food Policy Council, not just board members who are seen regularly, are group leaders, but like William. We could talk about what William does and what his organization's about. Just shed a little more light.
Great. Fantastic. Okay, well, we've just got a minute or two left here. Any other announcements, events, volunteer opportunities, or last comments before we wrap up? Okay. Well, I appreciate y'all sharing your thoughts today on how we can, you know, make the most of our time together. And Tamika and Carolyn, thank you so much for sharing about the summer feeding program, and we will push out whatever information we can for you to get that awareness out there. But thank y'all so much for being here, and hope you have a wonderful evening. We'll see you again on August 4th. All right, bye y'all.